In this video, we're going to look at some of the reasons why schizoids engage in exhibitionistic behaviour, and this is going to apply mainly to the primary schizoid. When I'm talking about exhibitionism, I'm talking about when an individual exposes themselves deliberately to other people to gain attention or to showcase something about themselves. And I'm not talking about the sexual form of exhibitionism, where a person deliberately exposes their private parts to an unsuspecting person for the purpose of sexual thrills. So there's different ways that this exhibitionism can manifest. For some schizoids, they might become actors or actresses and actually use exhibitionism as part of their careers. Also, they could be stand-up comedians, they could be singers, they could be in a range of different roles where they are using performing arts as a means of a career choice. On the other hand, it might not necessarily be in a professional sense. It could be just sometimes what they do in certain social settings. Maybe they might become like a joker of a group and like sort of be the person that sort of entertains other people, or just generally, it just depends on the situation. However, this exhibitionism is always going to be a way to interact with the external world without showing the true self. So when we look at the topic at first, it seems paradoxical and contradictory. Like, why would somebody who prefers solitude and privacy, who displays emotional detachment in social situations, and who avoids interpersonal closeness with other people, choose to put themselves into positions where they're going to get a lot of attention from people or deliberate attention from people? Why would they bother to, go through this effort? However, with most schizoids, we don't really want to just be entirely invisible from the world. It's like there's a need to have some footing in the external world, and when there's an inability to do so with your true self, and also because a lot of schizoids are creative, they're going to use their creativity to have a relationship with the external world. And sometimes this creativity will manifest as some sort of form of exhibitionism, so that they can put at least something of themselves, of their creations, of their mind out there, whilst keeping their true self hidden and protected. When we look into the underlying defense mechanisms and dynamics of the schizoid individual, it all becomes a lot clearer. So we will go into some of the reasons now. So to begin with, we can look at the defense mechanism of intellectualization that schizoids use to distance themselves from their emotions, which means looking at their emotions from an analytical point of view and also a logical point of view, so that they're not actually feeling their emotions in the moment. Now, how this is linked to exhibitionism is that schizoids can make an intellectual decision to put on a performance or put on some kind of a show for other people, so that they're able to have some kind of expression of themselves. So this can be a performative act that allows them to express emotions in a detached manner. And so emotions are being acted out and displayed in a way that enables them to see other people's responses or gain responses from others, and to gain feedback about emotions without actually being emotionally connected to their emotions. This is a bit complicated, but I think it will become clearer as I go on to some of the other reasons. Really, I think that through intellectualization and intellectualizing emotions and expressing them in a performative way. It's a way to maintain emotional distance with other people while still engaging with the external world on their own terms. So in that way, they are having some emotional output into the world and some response back from the world without engaging emotionally in the process, and in a way that can be controlled by the individual, decided by the individual, and that way there's a sense of interacting with the world without too much emotional closeness to other people. So following on from that point, by choosing to exhibit themselves, schizoid individuals find a way to maintain a sense of control over their interactions and also a sense of control over how they're perceived by other people. So this is controlled visibility, which enables the schizoid to have emotional engagement without needing the spontaneity. Because of emotional detachment, schizoid individuals lack spontaneity in the moment because there isn't this inner emotional pull or drive to express oneself. But by making the conscious decision to choose how, when, in what way they are expressing themselves, they do not need spontaneity in emotional engagement. And so this is a way to work around the fact that the spontaneity isn't there and still put something out into the world without having to be spontaneous because it is preconceived before it shows to other people. In many ways, by engaging in this form of exhibition and putting on a show for other people, it can help to put out the persona that the individual might feel is a good representation of a person that they maybe want to be or they think that others would appreciate. And so that way they don't need to express their true self in order to put somebody out there. So they're putting out a persona and putting on a show in a way that they think will maybe satisfy other people's needs to see them as a person, rather than just not showing any kind of personality at all. So this sort of behaviour is going to protect the true self of the schizoid. As we know, the true self of the schizoid remains hidden during social interactions and doesn't tend to interact with people in the external world. And we tend to interact with people via a full self system. So this full self system can work well for the purposes of exhibitionism or for developing false personas, and it can serve as like a mask that can draw attention to maybe aspects that the schizoid wants people to pay attention to while still protecting their true self and their true inner being, keeping it shielded from the external world and putting on a show to present oneself as a person without it necessarily requiring the input of the true self. One thing to understand is that the exhibitionism isn't for supply, like in the case of the narcissist who might put on shows to get attention for admiration and praise, and it's gonna boost their ego. With the schizoid, it is a lot more just about having some kind of relationship with other people that doesn't involve emotional investment. So with the exhibitionism, often it's kind of like one way. So the schizoid will put out and then they will get some sort of response, but the schizoid is really really wants to really show rather than give emotionally. And so it's more of an emotional display than sort of like a deep personal giving of oneself to others. And another aspect of this is that when the schizoid is in performance mode for whatever reason, and they could be in front of like hundreds of people, and people would think like, oh, how could a schizoid be on stage in front of all those people? Because they assume a lot of times that schizoids are shy people, but schizoids aren't necessarily shy at all. Schizoids are emotionally detached, withdrawn, and tend to prefer solitude. However, in a situation, say, where a schizoid is on stage, they aren't probably going to have the self-consciousness that somebody who is connected to their emotions and their innocence of being is going to have. Schizoids tend to be in a depersonalized state. And so a lot of the time, when we put ourselves in these positions, it's like, it's not really that personal to us. It's just like our outside, it's just our persona. It's like, it's just what we're doing. And so we're able to do those things without really feeling any emotional attachment to what we're doing. And so we're not going to be perturbed by what people are, we're not going to suffer from like the nervousness of when you're really putting yourself out there, because it's not really ourselves that we're putting out there. It's our bodies and a persona, and it's like, it's something we've created, but not necessarily us. And because of the detached emotional state, you're not going to connect with the feelings of nervousness and things like that a lot of people would. It can make us quite what's the word? You could say blasé, like whatever, but basically it's not going to be a problem like to be in front of a lot of people because we're so used to detaching. I mean, it could be that we are feeling some level of nervousness somewhere, but our defense mechanisms are going to come in and they're going to detach us from our emotions. So whatever we're feeling in our bodies isn't going to be something that would hold us back from engaging in I can't say the word now. From exhibitionism, if that's something that we have cognitively decided for whatever reason that we want to engage in. When the schizoid is engaged in exhibitionism, the other people are still very much at a distance, and the schizoid is emotionally distant from the other people. So it's not a close relationship. And the main issue with schizoid is close interpersonal relationships, revealing the true self and engaging with people through emotional intimacy. So really the distance created between self and others during situations where the schizoid might be in the limelight or on stage or performing in front of a lot of people, the distance is going to be there. And so I hope I've explained this well enough, because it is a tricky subject to get your head around, because it does seem like really contradictory, and it might seem like really the opposite, because people might think that schizoids, like, they would like never do anything socially, like that's going to draw attention to themselves. But I think really what the schizoid wants to do is to manage how attention is being drawn to themselves, when it's being drawn, and the conditions under which they get attention. And so in that sense, as I mentioned before, it's very much an intellectualized process that is decided upon. There is one little problem that can arise sometimes, is that because of the emotional detachment and, as I said, the blaseness, that sometimes schizoids might engage in situations like that involve like risky behaviour because of not feeling the emotional gravity of that situation, and not for thrills like what the antisocial personality disorder would do, but just mainly just through a lack of feeling the gravitas of the situation. And yeah, I think that's all I want to say on schizoid exhibitionism for now. But I hope it made sense to you and that it was clear. So yeah.